And spotlighting Becca. Here we go. Woo, woo. Oh, wait. Also make co-host. Um, ooh, good call. And spotlight for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I start now. Now's the thing.
Yeah, it's on you.
It's on me. All right. Hello and welcome to tonight's episode of Too Funny Feedback Mike. My name is Becca, and co-hosting the show with me tonight, as always, is Lisa. Tonight, each of our comedians will be performing a 5-minute set. If you want to keep track of how much time you have left, just switch to gallery view and look at sad clock over here. After your set, Lisa and I will be giving about 5 minutes of feedback before moving on to the next comedian. I will be focusing primarily on writing feedback, and Lisa will be focusing on performance and delivery. While we invite discussion during your allotted time, if we don't have time to address all your concerns, just reach out and we'll be happy to go into it in more depth via email or what have you. To our audience, all 18 of you, keep in mind as we get started that our intention is to help facilitate the growth of the comedians who come to us with varying levels of experience. Also, comedy is subjective, so you may not agree with us, and that is okay. We are also learning how to give good feedback. Additionally, if you enjoy the show and want to support the stream, please consider making a donation of any size or follow us by visiting districtcomedy.io, not .com, districtcomedy.io. With that, let's get this party started. Please welcome our first comedian of the evening, Kathy O'Brien.
What? Oh my goodness. I'm first. Wow, I didn't know that. Okay. So thanks so much for hosting the mic. So my anxiety has been off the charts lately. And instead of like thinking, well, I've been under a lot of stress. I've had a lot of stressful things going on. I go straight to early onset Alzheimer's. I'm like, it's early onset Alzheimer's. That's what I do. That's what I do. So my father-in-law passed away recently, and his maid came to the funeral and was like, do you need a maid? Like, I kind of need some work. And I'd never hired a maid in my life before. And so my husband's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm cleaning up for the maid. Excuse me. I don't want her to judge us. I'm cleaning up for the maid. Let's see. So my husband and my daughter are going to France in a couple of weeks. And we looked up the Louvre, and they've got this live webcam. And oh my God, that sent I was like, holy shit, look how many people are in the Louvre. Oh my God. And like, especially around the Mona Lisa, it's like hordes of people. And there's like this gate, and the Mona Lisa is like 8.5 by 11. I don't even know. It's not that big, but they're like, I don't know. I was like, wow, the Louvre has given me major anxiety at this moment, just through the live cam. Yeah, that's just how my anxiety is. It's crazy. So my dear friend called me, and I invited she and her husband for Thanksgiving. And she called to say, well, they're going to her husband's father's for Thanksgiving. And she really appreciated the invite. And she said, how about if I come over on Wednesday, day before Thanksgiving, and we could do some crafts and some mushrooms. Well, I haven't done mushrooms in years. And the last time I did mushrooms, my husband's my husband and I were peeking on these really strong mushrooms, and his father is like, I'm taking your mother to the emergency room. She thinks she's having a heart attack. We're like, holy shit. So that kind of did it for me in mushrooms. And I'm like, well, you could, I guess I don't know. I don't really want anyone to be doing mushrooms around my teenagers. I mean, maybe it would be fine. It might be fun. I don't know. I have no idea. But let's see. My husband's latest musical project, he's in a lot of bands, but the latest band that he just started is called Sonification of the Porous Web. Okay, well, maybe they were doing mushrooms when they came up with the name of that band. I don't know, but their first gig was last Friday, and it was very psychedelic, and I think maybe mushrooms were involved in the whole situation. I don't know. So this other dear friend of mine, he went to an Alzheimer's fundraiser last Saturday. It was held at this liquor distillery in our town. And I mean, that's just kind of weird to me. It's like a liquor distillery for real for Alzheimer's. And he's like, not that many people showed up. And I'm like, because they all forgot about it. That's it for me.
Woo! Everybody give it up one more time for Kathy. Good job. Lisa, would you like to go first with feedback?
Sure, yeah, of course. Hey, Kathy, it's great to see you. Thank you for that. That was fun. So I'm gonna put this on gallery view because I don't want to just look at myself. All right. So I liked that you started off
I'm
with like,
so sorry about the dogs.
okay, it's all
Okay,
right.
they're not that loud.
Had a small child roaming around at one point. It's fine. So I would say I like that you acknowledge and you start. Like I always think that's a really good place to start is like, hey, thanks, especially when you're starting off the night too. But whenever acknowledging where we're at, welcoming, I feel like there's more room to expand on that too. You could say like, coming back, like you can always establish a little bit of connection. And I think when you did that, you start with that, with the thank you and just a moment of connection with everyone and being present. So that's good. What was I going to say? I'm reading my own now. Can I read my early onset? I liked that. Funny, but I thought I have a lot more some ideas for you, and you take them or leave them for whatever they're worth about sort of how the set is organized, and also what my focus would be tonight, and that's okay. The dog's got a lot to say about feedback. Is that segues? I feel like would really assist you because sometimes I don't know. I know there's a joke, but sometimes I feel like because there's some sort of pacing, it can get a little bit lost. Does that make sense? Because I like that you're having a conversation. I feel like I'm sitting down having coffee with you. I think that's like sort of this rhythm that you have. But I think that maybe working on knowing exactly where the joke is and connecting those segues between jokes. Because I like that you had the anxiety thing, but I didn't know how the Paris thing connected until the end of the anxiety thing. So another thing is giving me anxiety, or another thing I've been thinking about that's causing me stress, so it's like a simple tagline. So I don't think it has to be a long thing, but I think it has to just sort of connect the dots. Does that make sense? And then we're following you along a little bit more. And therefore kind of, and then when you're delivering the punchline of that joke, it's more, at times, like you had really great things of like, was the band name thing was funny with the mushrooms and how that was delivered. I feel like if we have a lot more of that sort of timing of like the setup and then the payoff and then the connecting segue. So that's really where I would think as an overall note. I have a few ideas about the fun stuff you were talking about, but the anxiety is like virtual anxiety. The whole idea, I love that. The idea of virtual anxiety, of seeing all these people thousands of miles away, clamoring to see a very tiny painting, behind thing. I think that's if you got really descriptive and specific on that, keep the editing down, but but that's where you can really like describe that. So when you talk about that virtual anxiety, it sort of has a bigger payoff. Does that make sense? But I loved that idea of like virtual
Yeah.
anxiety of watching live cams. I think there's a lot of stuff. I also like the mushrooms. I thought at one point you're gonna be like, to eat, like as a side dish for the Thanksgiving dinner.
That's
Stuffing?
a cool idea.
That's something to do because you're like, she's talking about Thanksgiving. And you're like, you want to eat mushrooms at Thanksgiving? Like, do we put paprika in? Like, there's something there. I don't know if you want,
Oh
but
yeah,
something
that's
to
a
be
great
like
idea. I
a
love
side
that.
dish. So that there's an idea, because that's kind of where my brain went initially. And then I was like, oh, mushrooms. And then I do think there is, and the whole thing about, getting that unfortunate news when you did it the last time, this idea came to me. It's sort of like, he said this, but it sounded more like, whoa, like you could have like the idea of like how sensory changes and how it affected you doing
Yeah.
teenagers with drugs and teenagers. I think there's material there, but you're like, because that is true. It might be like, it might be fun. It might be a totally illegal operation. I don't know, like something,
Yeah,
the sort of a rule of three could be there, but that's in general what I have. So thank you so much. And I'm going to hand it
that's
off.
super great feedback. I really appreciate that.
Awesome. I definitely agree with like what's been said. I think that you have this really awesome through line of anxiety through your set, and it's a really I agree with what Lisa said about like segues and stuff of just transitioning, but you've got some good blocks of content, and the pacing between each one is good, like where you spend just enough time on each subject, and it's great. So with this through line of anxiety, I invite you to just sort of explore and exaggerate how your anxiety manifests specifically in each situation. So you talk about the maid, and you talk about how you're cleaning up for the maid. And if you could take that even further of like, I got to clean up for the maid because my father-in-law passed away, and I have to live up to his standards. Otherwise she's going to go home and say like, well, Tom was so much better. He kept his socks balled up and like go further with that. With that kind of like what your anxiety is telling you monologue. Nobody laughed at what I said, but you can come up with something funny. Just structure-wise, when you talk about the Louvre, make sure that you mention that you're scared of the crowds because of COVID. I think that's what you were implying, but just so we like know that's what you felt anxious about. I wrote down, geez, I hope the Mona Lisa's vaccinated. But I mean, like, so then talk about your anxiety in that specific situation as well, of like my anxiety, I swear I could see the particles of COVID floating above their heads, or just like go down what your anxiety is lying to you. And then when you talk about like how like the first time you did or the last time you did shrooms, and you said that your father was saying that your mother had a heart attack, and then you're like, and then suddenly I thought I was having a heart attack, and just like talking about like other ways that like you're because when you have anxiety, my dad told me, for me, since I have very bad anxiety, and he told me straight up in high school, he's like, listen, you should not do shrooms, not because they're bad for you, they're fun, but they will not work for you.
Not conducive to anxiety.
Not at all. So I love the idea of microdosing. I'm thinking about it, but my friends are like, absolutely not, Rebecca. You're not built for it.
Microdosing is totally different.
Yeah. I mean,
you should go for it.
I think my husband told me I got to talk to a doctor first, just to be sure. But back to your feedback, but just like talking about just kind of looking at how your shroom, how your tripping could also like even take your anxiety, and how your anxiety is lying to you on a psychedelic level, and that could bring even more fun opportunities for jokes. So just in general with the structure, I think you've got a really awesome skeleton here. I think just like and you've got some good meat to it. Just adding some fur to this monster of a set. How's that for a metaphor?
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave you on that, but it was really, really great, and thank you so much for coming back. It's great to see you again.
The feedback is so killer. I just so appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's so helpful.
Thank you so much. It's fantastic to have you back. Everybody give it up for Kathy one more time, please.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and then scrolling back up. All right, up next. So we just had Kathy. Up next, we have our Canadian ambassador. Please give it up for Desiree Walsh.
Hi. Hi, Sad Clock. Yes, I am Canadian. There's no joke there at this point. It's not even a humble brag, really. I just like saying it. It was my birthday a couple weeks ago, and on my birthday, I like to play this game where I think about what my parents were doing when they were my age. Yep. So when my parents were my age, they had 2 kids. Which isn't all that impressive because they got like a. Sorry, I had to burp. I'm a very classy, fancy comedian, very professional. So they had 2 kids, and it's not all that impressive because they kind of got like a 2-for-1 deal because I'm a twin. But they also had like 2 cars and a house and full-time jobs with benefits. When I don't know about it in the US because I didn't do any research for this joke because again, professional. That's virtually unheard of in Canada now. So if you have a job with benefits, that's pretty great. And I'm actually lucky enough to have one of those jobs. I have a job with benefits that's full-time. I don't own a house. I own something similar to a cardboard box under a highway overpass. And I also don't have children, but I do have a Keurig coffee machine, and I am told by all of my friends that have kids and my parents, Desiree, that is not the same. Quit bringing your Keurig to pool parties. But they like it. But it is like the Keurig is exactly like a child in that I would be devastated if anything happened to that Keurig. And also, not unlike meat children, the Keurig is very messy and makes a lot of noise, just like a meat child. And I often find myself thinking about the Keurig when I am out and hoping that it did at least 1 load of laundry. And it never has, just like a meat child. Never, ever. And I totally forgot the new part of the joke that I wrote. And like it's a good stand-in for a Christmas card. Like apparently dressing your Keurig up and taking it to the mall is weird. But like nobody says anything when you bring your dog to sit on Santa's lap. So it's fair. We're gonna pivot. This is something new that I wrote. My sister recently, I don't know if I should be doing this on Facebook live stream. Oh, well, my sister recently started seeing a new gentleman and she asked me to meet him. And I said, yes. And we were supposed to meet this weekend and they were going to drive me to a comedy show and then to a potluck after. And every time I go to potlucks, I always pick something easy, like I'll bring the napkins because it fits in a purse. Oh yeah, none of you know I'm in a wheelchair. So it's hard for me to carry like cakes is the point of this joke. It's hard for me to carry cakes. So I always pick like something easy like napkins or forks, something that fits in a purse. But this time, because my sister's boyfriend's a walkie, I was like, I will bring the cake. I will bring the cake and a case of pop. And my friends were like, how are you going to carry it? And I was like, I'm bringing a walkie to the pot. And anyways, he got sick and I was disappointed I couldn't meet him, but more disappointed that I couldn't bring my cake to my potluck. I don't know if that's too inside baseball for the walkies, but it was really, really disappointing because I wanted some cake. Yeah, I think I'll end it there because this has kind of gone off on the rails a bit.
All right, everybody give it up for Desiree. Amazing. All right, Lisa, are you cool if we switch back and forth
Yep.
with feedback?
Yep.
Awesome. Desiree, I love like just watching this meat child, this Keurig meat child joke grow. I hope you saw in the comments that Tom has been kind of like posting what the audience is saying, and they're like, "Did she say meat child?" And I'm so happy that people are appreciating that term that you've coined, because it's beautiful. I I wrote down, just something to clarify, just like with exposition. When you say like, my parents had kids and I don't have a kid, this time you skipped over, you just said, I have a Keurig coffee cup. You just went straight in, or I have a Keurig coffee cup.
Shoot.
Say I have something very similar to.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, that it's still
Okay.
good. Just like making sure that for those of us who haven't heard it before. Also, I wondered, like, when you were saying, like, when your family's like, you can't, like, stop bringing your Keurig to a pool party. And it's like, well, I thought everybody wanted coffee. And clearly your 2-year-old isn't going to do that, or something like that. There's an opportunity there.
Okay.
If you ever do these two jokes together in a set of talking about going to a potluck and then you couldn't bring the cake, you could end with a recycle the joke and say, so I brought my Keurig instead.
Oh, that's a good idea, because Keurig fits in a purse.
There it is. Yeah. So I'm gonna offer you that joke opportunity there, because everybody loves when you recycle a joke. They're like, oh my god, I'm in on the joke.
Yeah.
But those are really like the things I wrote down. I mean, like, I know that you had like a moment where you forgot your joke, but I love the idea of like nobody questions when somebody brings like their dog and sits it on Santa's lap. I love that addition.
Yeah.
So great work.
Yeah, I agree. Don't have much to add, because I love seeing this routine grow and change, and I know you're always working on material that you've been doing. I think that I love how you craft that and you keep making it fresh, like always. I like how we introduce you as Canadian, you're like, it's not even a humble brag, I just like saying it. You still keep that fresh, even though that's simple. And then I liked how, like, when you were burping, like, you're like, professional. Like, I love, you have a really great ability to segue that just enhances the whole set always. Or like the coffee, but like there was one point you changed your voice and you're like, but they like it, that was awesome, because it was sort of unexpected and this different tone. And it's like, I love those little side voices, because it's also very authentic. It wasn't like, I don't feel like it was a planned thing.
No.
But it makes sense. But they like you were doing the Carrie's voice for a second. I love that. Was it saying types? So I love that you're bringing the Keurig to the pool party, and I just things about Keurigs and pool parties, like maybe the Keurig, is it like chlorinated water more? I don't know. Is it a fancy day out? I'm not sure. But things there. I love that talking about how Rebecca brought up about can your child make coffee, or like that's a lot of fun too. But I love this evolution, and I think that you've really gotten that first part really well executed.
Yeah.
The whole Santa thing. I mean, I love that no one thinks it's weird when you bring a dog like to Santa, and you can even say, you can make it specific of like how you dressed up your Keurig, or that position. Like Santa seemed happy, he was caffeinated. I don't know. I know, like there's something to be said. Like no one brings Santa anything, but so I brought in. And I loved the whole thing, talking about the walkie and explaining the meat child was such a funny phrase. I have a meat child, so I understand. I don't have a kid. That's coincidence, I'm not sure. But I love that when you pivoted, this is a segue thing. I'm gonna pivot. That's a simple way to segue. You sometimes just don't have to like connect. You can be like, you just take a right turn, as long as you acknowledge the turn you're taking. I think that's a really great tactic.
Okay.
That's something you rely on all the time. If you say that all the time, it becomes like a thing. But when you have that moment of a segue, that you're like, I'm just going to change things up. Like, we're like, okay, we'll go right with you. It's just acknowledging the turn.
Okay.
So I think that's a really great way of changing up a segue or pivot. So we're going to pivot now. Like, that was I really liked that. And I love that you were more disappointed about the cake.
I really was.
The walkie future potential, person in your sister's life. I thought you were like the cake, and maybe be like, what kind of cake was it? Because yeah, cake is really good. Like, you could describe the cake with I don't know, as an intimate thing. I don't know, but and I love the idea of Becca putting on the button. What do we call, like, it when I was doing improv, the button where you come
Yeah.
back, you sort of bring it back and put the button right on the end if you're talking about, but I like bring my Keurig, so I like
Yeah.
that. Again, always enjoy just your fun, present nature, and the way that you just go with the flow, but you definitely have a very concrete set that lets you be able to move around it easily, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, give it up again for
Hey!
Desiree
Agreed.
Walsh. Our neighbor
Fantastic.
Noel.
So
All
up next, we're gonna keep clapping because we're gonna keep going and give a big welcome to Carmia, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. People are always messing up my name because Carmia isn't a name. It's actually a lead-in to the question, excuse me, what? I'm tired all the time. I went to the doctor and he diagnosed me with children. I recently got to lay down for 20 minutes in the middle of the day. Thank you, MRI. I paid a $397 copay for a 20-minute MRI nap. Money I've spent in years. I'm gonna ask for one for Mother's Day. I had to have it done for a hip injury I got while running. The doctor said, unless I want another one, I'll have to switch to something low impact. So I signed up for skydiving and bullfighting. One thing though, why are they so loud? MRIs sound like, and then sometimes they sound like my kid's broken Simon toy. We have got to find a way to make this more of a spa experience. It is 2021. We've got silencers on guns. If the government can silence aliens, they can find a way to silence MRIs. Texas found a way to silence abortion providers. We found a way to have silent letters. Yeah, I'm talking to you, pterodactyl. I mean, for goodness sake, there are silent movies. Hello. That last joke works better if you laugh. So I had postpartum depression after our fourth kid. Carmia is Hebrew for doesn't know when to stop. To prevent it from happening after the fifth, my midwife suggested I eat my placenta. It has nutrients that are supposed to help. Step away from the judgmental expression that is forming on your face. So I had a decision to make. 6 months of 6 months of depression, or eat my placenta. Yeah, I'm going to go with the depression. My midwife totally tried to push it on me, though. It's locally grown. Womb to table. She even gave me recipes like placenta polenta, placenta pizza.
Oh, God.
I know, right? It's gross. And vegan placenta. What? Vegan placenta? Isn't the placenta a byproduct of me? Yeah, totally not a production. In the end, I just stuck it in the freezer. And every year on their birthday, I put candles on it. When can we have sheet cake like the Thompsons? The Thompsons are adopted. When I was finally ready to empty the freezer, my son said, "Why are you always throwing away my stuff?" Thank you, Desiree. I'm a mom, but I'm not great at mom things like wiping counters and compassion. My kids have a lot of medical issues. All told, they've had epilepsy, eczema, asthma, cradle cap, warts, Lyme disease, pet allergies, food allergies, a broken arm, bedwetting, pneumonia, strep of the blood, and a mom with loads of joke potential. Food allergies are the worst. Where my anaphylaxis at? Anyone? No. Enjoy your food. One son can't have peanuts, tree nuts, dairy, sesame, eggs, yeast, or tomatoes, but there is still a lot he can eat. He enjoys his own hair. When I requested special ed services for my daughter, the county required that I show her birth certificate or other evidence of birth. Challenge accepted. Thank God I didn't eat that placenta. I have to be organized to manage all their appointments, but not everyone appreciates that. My middle schooler requested I stop writing out our family's daily schedule because she wants more spontaneity. I had a really rude thought. It's a good thing she's the one with the epilepsy because nothing says surprise like seizures. If you just laughed, you're still a good person. Not so much. That's my time.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That was so much content in 5 minutes. I'm so impressed by that. Oh man. I don't have much to say in terms of writing because you have so many solid lines that just got giggles every single time. I would say to see, and this is more performance, so Lisa, like you can scream at me afterwards if you want. I think that you have great writing. I think you could probably find some more dynamics of right now energy. What'd you say, Desiree?
Oh, I was laughing at what Tom wrote.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, let's scream at each other. Next week. So like right now your energy is kind of like one level, and that's fine because like you're just talking and you're just doing stand-up. I think that because you have so much content, one after another, maybe finding some jokes where the stakes are a little higher and it's almost like acting where maybe you are feeling this frustration in the moment of like, I can't think of a joke off the top of my head, but go through and see if there's a thing where you are like if you could have like this genuine in the moment confusion of like, why isn't it like this? When you present like almost like you're coming up with this thing in the moment. And maybe just like maybe try and find like 3 spots to do like that, or even like amp up or ramp up to this kind of level because it's good stuff, but just adding a little bit of dynamic into it. And the only like writing thing that I wrote down was the first MRI sound you gave. It was like such a specific sound, and I would love for you to say, like, to make it into a metaphor of like it's like the yeah, you know, like kind of like when, and then like fill in something like what that sound would sound like to you, but just have it be. Did I freeze up?
No, we're with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've considered. Oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk. Am I allowed to talk?
Oh yeah, please.
Take the tape off my mouth. I've considered talking about like it's laying under a helicopter, you know, like you do.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that would work. I don't know.
No, I'm wondering if you could be, I mean, that definitely works, but like maybe come up with a list of like 5 or 6 things and just like keep going down of thinking of like, what could that sound like? What could that sound like? And keep listing out examples and like, get super specific and weird and absurd, and just like see, like you might start to make yourself giggle at like if you're forcing yourself of like, I need to come up with 6 things that this could sound like, and maybe one of those will give you something that we like didn't think of, but
Machine gun. Yeah.
Machine gun. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. Great. This is helpful.
Like
Thank
when
you
you put a bucket on your head and your kids keep banging it, you know. Like that. Maybe is that what you're saying?
But I mean, like that's really all I wrote down. This was very, very impressive. Very impressive writing. So fantastic job. And I'm going to turn it over to Lisa.
Yeah, no, this was really good. I honestly, part of it is I was laughing so much, I was missing some of your jokes. It's very dense. Like you made the most of those 5 minutes. Like you were in, and it was great. But I would say another thing, and I agree with what Becca was saying with the performance stuff, is that, but I felt bad because I was missing jokes because I was laughing. Does that make sense?
So I should go
just
slower?
adding that pause or getting that response.
Yeah.
It's not that it has to change that much. It's just letting go on the down curve of the laughter. And also, like, a lot of your jokes are really smart. They're funny, they're right, but like they're very one after the other, but they're smart. So there's sometimes a delay. Like, oh yeah, that was funny. So just allowing that moment so that because I would be like, oh, the next thing is funny. And then I'd be halfway into the next phrasing of your joke. And I'd be like, I didn't hear it. I know it's funny. And so like, I didn't get the full part of it. So I was like writing it's like, oh yes. So I love that. I love that you still your opening that excuse me, like that works really well. And I think you're again another great example, like Desiree, of like you guys have done. I've seen this material a few times, but it's still fresh. It's still, and that's where it comes to that. It talks about that acting thing of being present or like making it like the first time. It, there's points where things can get parts of our routines can feel old or get older, and you get so routine with them that they don't come off as well because you're not as invested in that moment. That makes sense. And you have that. So that's great. I was saying, I loved, what was it? He diagnosed me with children. So these are, and I'm, as a mom, like you just had me rolling. Cause like, I think everyone can relate to it, but I giggled a lot. But I loved that whole idea of like how you still do all that lean in really well and coming back. Like, I think you could even make the sound even like lean in a little bit more, and we can get that louder so that when you describe it with that specificity later, it's going to even, hit more. But I just really enjoyed that whole thing. And then maybe there's a point where you talk about being present. Like I signed, maybe I will sign up for, I'm thinking skydiving or bullfighting, thinking, makes it more present. Even if you change the form of like the phrasing of I'm going to versus I did, that might even help with the stakes. Does that make sense? And keeping it a little bit more present, just changing the grammar a little bit. Cause you have such a dense, but really well executed set. Like there was a lot of like, it was joke after joke. And I agree back. It's a really, really smart. I loved the whole locally grown. And so we're going to go on to the placenta part. Oh my God, that was funny. That was so funny. You could like it's organic or like locally grown. Like I almost feel like you're a waiter. Like you would even do more of a persona of like, hey, it's, like an advertisement for your placenta, like wonderful. I loved that. I thought that was really womb to table. Oh my gosh. You could meet who made it, meet the chef. Something like that. There's a lot of fun stuff. I was laughing and writing, so I didn't get to see your full pizza spin. So I'm not sure if because I didn't get to see the whole thing and what you did, but anytime you do something that's a very specific move, making it really specific, like that spin and landing, I feel like they can play with it a little bit, but I didn't get to flip because I was writing down and laughing. The candles on it. I just love that. And I love that. And that's somewhere you can really play up with that. Maybe the energy too, with like, I loved it. You did the great down and up with the kids, but why can't we have a regular sheet cake? I loved it since they were adopted. That just tickled my fancy. So thank you. The list and the pace was awesome. That list, this is what they have. Boom, 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 boom. And that was a great change up. So talking about dynamics, that was a boom, 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 boom. And I loved that. And it was so different from the rest of it. So it stood out and it was super impressive. And I bet those are all real because you have 5 kids. And that's like, you go to the doctor and you're like, they have this, like, like, so, all good on you. And sorry you have to live through all of that too. No, I'm kidding. They're worth it. Right. But the pace was awesome. I really wrote that. And I liked the nice lean in that you did enjoy your food. You had that moment where you were connecting with us, even on a Zoom call, which is another strength of yours. And so you're asking, like, you took a moment to like ask the audience. And we're still, it's so funny in the Zoom culture because we're so used to doing meetings or webinars or what's right or wrong. You made sure that we reacted. And if, when we didn't react, you had that great punchline of, okay, well, enjoy your food. And I liked the lean in. It made a big difference. You do a very good job of minute moves that are executed very well within the Zoom world, and enhance your humor. So that was a lot. So thank you. It's like I was writing it all because it really was funny. So thank you for coming back. We appreciate it. Give it up for Carmia. Woo!
Awesome. And then please keep it going for our final comic of the night. Sonia, give it up. Woo!
Yay, thank you. Thank you. I moved because it was getting dark where I was, and now the lighting is weird and I have a glare. So to our 3 viewers, if you want to donate tonight, I'll invest in lighting for the next show. I don't know what's going on. There's like some pink and it's all good. I'll call it my Halloween lighting. I want to take a moment to acknowledge, I think it's all women comedians tonight, which is awesome. Yeah, give it up for amazing, hilarious women. Thank you, Carmia. I don't know. I guess the dudes got the hint. Finally, right? Like,
Listen.
man, in comedy, it's so 2020. I don't know if any of you can relate to telling someone you do stand-up or comedy and their responses like, oh my God, that's great. You know who is so funny? Bell is like, oh my God, he's hilarious. You should tell that joke, hear him tell that joke about his butt. I'm like, oh my God, there's a mediocre white man who can do this better. Thank goodness. Pressure is off. I'll just go home. I just saw Tom's comment in Sad Clock. So yeah, Sad Clock has no gender. So it's women and also non-binary. So thank you. I see you. It's getting close to Halloween, and I always feel like watching a scary movie this time of year. Have any of you, I don't know if this, I guess this kind of falls into creepy, scary. Have any of you seen Pan's Labyrinth?
Yes.
Okay. So I had a dream the other night, and in it, I was going down this basement, and there were the child eaters, those things with the long fingernails and the eyeballs. I know it's so creepy, frightening, and I didn't think that I could ever have a scary dream. I was like topped, woke up sweating, and then the next night I dreamt about Trump. So it was actually a strangely comforting dream. In it, he had died, but his cabinet didn't want the public to know, so they were still tweeting for him. Kind of like a Weekend at Bernie's situation. Weekend at Trump's. I actually feel like I really should watch that movie now. I haven't seen it. Raise your hand if you think I should watch Weekend at Bernie's tonight. Oh, okay. I know it just seems like such a weird premise. I'm still trying. Okay, raise your hand if you think we should make Weekend at Trump's now. Cool. Yeah. Okay. You're all right. We have like a 50-50. So I think let's make it happen. Do you feel like as I've gotten older, the things I'm scared of, the list just keeps growing longer? Relating to your anxiety, Kathy, unfulfilled dreams, running into people from high school, the sun, like I'm in my 30s now, and it's like I just feel the need to be completely covered up anytime I go outside. But my skin has completely different ideas. It's in a toxic relationship with the sun. It's just like, look at me, look at me. Oh, there's a sliver of wrist showing. Get that in front of the sun. Just like, come on, cover up already. Don't show much. You're going to catch a disease. No one is going to pay for that. Speaking of moments of fear, I took my dog for a walk the other day, and she pooped like they do. And I reached to my pocket for what I thought had been a plastic bag, and it wasn't. It turns out it was a menstrual pad wrapper. Thank God I don't wear tampons, because they would never hold all that shit. That's all I got for you guys. Thank you.
Woo! All right, Lisa, you want to take this one?
Sure. Oh, I'm so glad you're back. Thank you for coming back. I love it. Tonight was pretty much everyone is like people. It's a flash from the past, but not too. And so it's great. I have like everyone get back to see how you've grown so much, and so much fun. So I really love how you always acknowledge, like and incorporate stuff from the night. That has always been a strength of yours. You like took a piece and you really made that present, and you made us all sort of like have this real connection and acknowledgement of like what's transpired in just this last hour between us. And then I feel like you use that really well, because then you really are one of the few comedians I've seen on Zoom that truly is like asking us a question and taking a poll and waiting for our hands to come and using that. And I think part of the reason you do it so well is because you established that in the beginning, like you really acknowledged us and acknowledged like what we've been through as a group earlier on in such a fun and succinct way. Like, you know, you don't go on and on, but like, it's wonderful. Acknowledge, you know, the lighting. I love how you switched. You're like, I'm gonna, you know, I just love being present. I think that that's a good theme for tonight. Being very present and acknowledging that, and then acknowledging that we're all women, except for Sad Clock. And so, but acknowledging that, I appreciated that. And then of course I loved, you know, the mediocre white guy joke, which was fun. And the pressure is off. I loved that. I love that sort of demeanor. You have this great way of like, not like I feel like I'm in a confessional, but like you're telling me your secrets, but it's like a conversation, like we're having, you're like, oh, I'm having coffee with someone. It's going somewhere out, like, you know, and I love that. So that's why I feel like this, you just have a great way of saying, I have a nice way to riff and stay present. So that was a long way to say that. I liked the tweeting for him concept. I thought about what tweets would he send? Like his cabinet would send, like, I'm not dead, LOL. I'm the toilet crapping right now. Like, I don't know. Like, it doesn't have to be vulgar, but maybe, and I'm sorry, Beck, that's a little bit stepping on the writing thing, but like maybe what would those tweets be? Because you know his tweets that when he's alive are so prolific. So that was kind of fun. I love Weekend at Bernie's, and I don't know, I feel like everyone does know that. I realize that now, that maybe there's a generation that doesn't know. They're the youngest people I would know. So and maybe that's a moment, like you know, that's another way you're like, everyone knows Weekend at Bernie's, right? Which is, you know, check in, like, you know, the dead guy they pretended was alive, you know, like.
Is there another movie that younger people would know that was like loosely the same premise?
I feel like Weekend at Bernie's too, maybe. No, but pretty much. I think that's
it's just Weekend at Bernie's or Weekend at Bernie's too.
I feel like that's pretty much, it's its own genre.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone's like, they've done it well. Leave it alone. I don't know, but I thought that was really good. And this is an idea of like Margot Largo. If you wanted to do it, it's like Weekend at Margot Largo. You know, that kind of thing. Because that's where he would do it.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I love that. I love, like I said, acknowledging the audience. I liked your list. What I'm trying to acknowledge. Of you did like the rule of three, I'm pretty sure. So I'm reading my own writing about the sun. And I thought that the whole thing was really well crafted. And I loved how you segued. I think my theme is segue tonight. You said another moment of fear. So you took something that might not have been easily like put on together with the rest of the set, but because of that turn of phrase, another moment of fear, that it worked. And that's how simple it was. And I loved the whole, they gotta use pads. Shit was that was great. I thought that was a strong place to end. So thank you so much, Sonia.
Thank you. I wish that wasn't based on a true story.
Then you never would have thought of it.
I know.
It's
You're right. Thanks.
Such a funny situation to be in. And I love that you were able to take that traumatic moment and change it into art to process.
Yes.
I'm really happy for you. Growth has been made here today at Too Funny Feedback. So this is like a really fun. Oh God, I love every time. Like I love whenever you talk about the sun, because like that's my like enemy number one. So I get it. I know that you kind of like shortened it. You didn't do like the horny teenager setup, but I'm wondering if you can kind of keep some of that like scandal with it and using words like flashing the sun, using words like flashing, it's like flashing the sun, my sliver of wrist. Or like, I went streaking the other day where I walked outside without any sunscreen on, or something like that, but just like using these kind of scandalous words for when we're exposing our beautiful porcelain baby skin. I get it. So I definitely agree with what Lisa said about like, I'd love to hear some tweet examples for if Trump died and like we were having a weekend in person. I wrote down some ideas of like, what if the tweets were just incredibly normal? And it's like, oh, look at this interesting piece from the New York Times. Or like, oh my goodness, Colin Powell, what an American hero. Thinking it's praying for him or his family today, but something completely normal. Or I also wrote down if it's just a GIF of Bernie doing his dance. Those were just some ideas to play with. So leading up the exposition to get to you didn't think that you could have a scarier dream than the Pan's Labyrinth thing, and then getting into A Nightmare About Trump. First of all, like when you mentioned it, I was just like, God, I thought we were done. Don't mention him anymore. So like it definitely will, it'll definitely resonate. I don't know about you guys, but like Netflix is trying to get me to watch that new like Comey like short series, and I'm like, how dare you? No, I cannot anymore. But so with the Pan's Labyrinth of like asking, like I think you said like I want to watch a scary movie, and then I did this, and then I dreamt about the thing. There weren't really like many kind of like strong punchlines in there, so either shorten that exposition to get to the Trump nightmare, or find some ways that you could make some jokes of like, I wrote down in your nightmare of being chased by that like children eater monster, it could just be like, the children eater monster didn't eat me because I was too old, or something like that. But I would just say like with that part, either tighten it up or see if you can punch it up a little bit. Because also it's like, don't make me think about those eyeball hands unless I really need to.
Fair. Yeah.
But that's just me. I mean, like it was great, and I definitely agree with what Lisa said, that you are so good at riffing and just like doing off the cuff stuff. And then you were just like, I love that when you were like, sad clock has no gender, and I see you. So good. So just great job, and it's wonderful to have you back. Yeah, keep bringing me those like sun jokes. I love it so much.
I'm so glad. At least there's an audience of one. Like that's worth it. That is worth it. Thank you. That was very helpful. Appreciate it as always.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna begin. our outro. Everybody buckle up. A big thank you to my co-host Lisa and to the comedians for being so open to feedback. And of course, to our awesome audience, all 47,000 of you. We grew during this. Again, if you want to support the stream, you can do so at districtcomedy.io, not .com, .io. And if you want to be on the show, you can sign up using that same link. So we'll see you next week and have a good night.